Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of ClueCon Weekly. Joining us this week is Amy Norris, software development supervisor at Dimensional Innovations, a designer, programmer, a lot of hats. And thank you for joining us, Amy.
Thank you.
And well, would you like to start with a quick intro about yourself?
Sure. As you said, I'm Amy Norris. I'm software development supervisor at Dimensional Innovations. And Dimensional Innovations is an experiential marketing company. So if anyone's not familiar with that, we do the weird stuff. So we do museums, theme parks, stadiums, anything where you would enter a space and then there would be something interactive there for you to do.
That is amazing. Yeah, I was looking at the website, and I think it's really there's a breadth of experiences you built, a lot of different things, and it's really must be awesome to be in that in a space like that. So, how does it? I'm curious. How does a developer fit in that kind of space?
Well, we don't always.
Mm.
DI does a lot of stuff that's just wayfinding, signage, that kind of a thing, and we don't touch that at all. But if we're doing anything that's more interactive, like a lot of museums, if you've ever gone to a museum and there was something where you could, push a button and it would make something happen, or a big screen on the wall that you could interact with and get more information about something, that's what we do. So somebody has to program that, right? That's us.
Nice. Yeah, I think there's always a duality between the design and creative forces at a software development company and the actual engineering forces. So it's always good to see people that can blend the two aspects together because it's never easy. It's certainly a challenge.
Yeah,
Well,
and
I
we do
mean,
everything. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
We call ourselves design, make, build. So we have an entire manufacturing floor where, like I said, we make signage and things like that. We have obviously software development department. We have a design department. We have an actual engineering department, like the ones that do crazy math and stuff. So anything and everything for a space we can do.
Nice. So you actually build stuff in house.
Yep. Well, not me, but
Well, yeah, the company. Well, yeah.
somebody does.
You already have your hands full with, with software development for sure. It's
Yeah.
there's still a lot of that in there. Like I see, there's a lot of interactive experiences and a lot of well. So going down that route and also tying back to a talk you recently did, which I saw the title in your submission. I thought, well, I really want to know about it. The title is "Competence is Overrated." That's first of all, I don't know what the talk is about, but I agree in the title. It's absolutely spot on. Like, but can you tell me more about that topic?
Yeah, definitely. It is exactly what it sounds like. So it's how to succeed at your job when you don't know what you're doing, because everyone's been in that position. And if you haven't been, you definitely will be. So I the idea of the talk is to kind of give people the tools to do better at that, like better ways to fail, faster ways to fail, ways to not beat yourself up about it when you do fail, and to try and kind of enjoy it more when you're not doing well.
And yeah, think what are main so let's say you're bound to fail in a sense if you start doing something that you don't know very well. So how do you make sure you don't fail too hard?
That is the tricky one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, on the one hand, you kind of need to fail hard, right? We're probably going to be hiring a new developer soon, and I've had people sending me resumes about that. And one of them I really liked, but I know them personally. And one of the red flags, honestly, that I brought up with my supervisor is she's never had a big work failure. And until
Hmm.
you've done that, until you've, taken down production or just really caught something on fire bad, you're going to be scared that you're going to do that. And once you've done it, you realize, okay, well, that was terrible. Worst day ever, but the world keeps turning. I still go to work tomorrow, probably. It's fine.
Yeah, it is. Sometimes it's hard to get supervisor to understand that. So that's probably the biggest issue. It's leading up the chain is always hard. So yeah, it's people expect certain amount of output from the get go. It's not always possible. I don't think it's possible in any case, really, but it is what it is. It is
Yeah, and
and
I've been really lucky as a software developer to have great supervisors who understand that, failure comes with the job, and we'll get back on track eventually.
yeah, it feels like before we go into another topic, it feels like agile was a good force in that space for a while in the industry until supervisor got a hold of the whole point system and burned down charts and all of the other stuff. So it became, instead of being okay, so last week you had 7 points assigned to you, you only got five done. Let's make sure next week you get the correct amount of work, and it ends there. It instantly turns into, why did you only got 5 points done? When all that happened there is that one story was sized wrong. Literally, just one story accidentally someone clicked on the wrong drop down. That's an actual real error. But it turns into an immediate performance review, and that sort of breaks the whole system. That's
Yeah.
the feeling I've had so far. That's all there is to it. Yeah. So well, you got a job you don't know anything about, but do you need? Yeah, I assume you have to start from somewhere. I know there's some research. I know there's some research about the amount of knowledge you should have before you apply for a job. What's the you have
Yeah,
some
I
numbers on
I
that?
actually have that stat in the talk. It's Forbes did a study, and they discovered that women primarily wait until they have 100% of the job requirements before they'll even apply. Men mostly wait until they have about 60, and hiring managers and HR and those kind of things are only looking for about 40. So less than half, and everybody's underselling themselves. So one of the things that I do in my talk is I tell exactly how I got into development, because before this I was a graphic designer. And my very first interview as a developer, which led to the first developer job that I got, I just fully lied, like 100%. Met the CTO of the company I was interviewing for lunch. She said that she needed somebody who knew PHP. So I said, "Oh yeah, I know PHP, no problem." And I did not, had zero PHP, but I knew that I could learn it quick enough.
Hmm.
So she invited me for a technical interview about 2 weeks later, and I just crammed so much PHP in those 2 weeks that I was able to then pass the technical interview and convince her that I hadn't been lying in the first place.
Wow, that's yeah. I think that I don't I have a similar experience. Just when I graduated, I got introduced into a big four job by a friend who was working there as a director, and we agreed on the fact he will not say that I didn't know about 90% of what I was supposed to do, and I learned on the job, and it worked out pretty well. I would say that kick-started my career considerably. I learned a lot I will not otherwise have learned or been exposed to, being able to work on eye level consultancies right at the start. But if they look at my resume for real, like if it had not been my friend hiring me, I would not even gotten near the building. Like security would have escorted me out of the parking lot. Instead, instead it just worked out. So yeah, it is. I feel like the amount of skills and the other thing that you point out in your talk that I think is really correct, especially in the U.S., but generally in the world, is the degree requirement is usually. I mean, unless it's literally it's a doctor job, then yeah, we want you to want you to actually be a doctor. Other than that, it's generally not a hard requirement. There are exceptions, but feels like that. Like it's mainly, is it done mainly for, what do you think? Mainly for, so that you have to work through less resumes? Like, so we'll put in a degree requirement. So that'll cut the amount of candidates in half. So it's less work for the department or something like that.
Yeah, probably. I have my suspicions that a lot of those requirements that get added to things are just HR trying to make their job easier, which, fair enough. Those guys work hard, but yeah, you can ignore it. If you've got, I have a degree, but it's not a development degree. So if something says requires computer science degree, I don't meet that, I'd apply anyway, because why not? Even if you get rejected, oh
Yeah,
well. I mean, I
whatever.
wasted 5 minutes writing a cover letter. That's it. That's fine.
I completely agree. Plus, in general, the goal is again, you can apply some stuff. There is a couple other exceptions. One of them is probably data science. At least they felt like it, until it was. I was recently reading a very good book about essential mathematics for data science. So we're just doing, a once over the various statistics, linear algebra, whatever needed to for some project we're doing. And at the end, the author has a very interesting chapter about how most people who are hired as data scientists end up working Excel worksheets for days and days and weeks and end. So
Oof.
don't be afraid. Even things look like they have a lot of prerequisites, you can just try and see how it goes.
Yeah.
I totally agree. It is extremely important to not take, and women do tend to lie less in resumes. Probably that's something 100% confirmed. Like there's we occasionally have people that are so okay. Let's go forward with some other questions about the talk. So I got about 40% match. Let's say it's I'm erring on 30% side. So I'm on the fence. How do I make myself still useful, and how do I make myself still likable on the workplace so that I can progress?
Well, you can always bring donuts. That helps. But
Well, yeah.
truthfully, I think it's just about being open to learning, right? Like, I would rather have somebody come in the door and be willing to just throw themselves into learning how we do things rather than coming in with a whole bunch of preconceived notions about, well, this is how I've done it all of my other jobs, and you hired me because I have all of this experience, so we're going to do it my way. I would rather have somebody flexible than somebody with more experience. And if they've got both, awesome. But it seems like the more experience you get, the less flexible you become. So trying to keep that flexibility is key.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I've been doing this for, doesn't look like it, or maybe it does, but I've been doing this for a very long time. I'm pushing 20 years in the industry now, and I feel like I have to constantly remind myself that not everybody has the same life and work path. So when I'm talking to a customer or even a colleague, or we're working a project, it's probably not even just being flexible or not. It's about, how to do things a certain way, and it starts feeling like it's the only way. Well, it's not.
Exactly.
It's not very well then. And I mean, there's a lot of interesting things in your presentation. So there's really a lot that I really like. So going back to failure, do you think there's a pattern that you can use to keep failing while learning? Sometimes when you work in, again, agile, and let's fail for 2 hours or fail for 1 hour, then go ask for do you have a pattern you set for yourself when you're learning something new? Like, I'll try for X amount of time, then go ask. Or how do you apply that?
I do. Mine is called 30-15 fail. So
Hmm?
I my goal when I'm learning something new is to fail at it because if I'm not failing, I'm not learning enough new things, right? If I'm doing everything just fine, I'm not pushing myself hard enough. So
Yeah.
30-15 fail is 30 minutes where I'm making absolutely no progress. I need to take 15 minutes and walk away. Go do
Oh,
something else. Take a walk, take a shower, take a lunch break. It can be more than 15 minutes, right? If it's the end of the day, I'll just call it a day, pick it up again in the morning. That's fine. And if I come back at the end of that break and I still don't have any new rabbit holes to explore, then I say, "All right, I failed. I need to get somebody else to help me with this because I'm not making any more progress on my own."
yeah. It feels like some kind of time boxing around failure is really effective, because at some point, otherwise, you push yourself into almost depression. I will say, like,
Yeah.
if I sat down in front of a page of Chinese text, I didn't know Chinese, and just decided I wanted to read the Chinese on that page, no amount of time spent in front of that page of text will get me closer to understanding any of it.
Right.
So at some point, you have to recognize you're not getting there. And it's the other thing that I really like about you said if you're not failing, you're not learning, and I feel like that is spectacularly true. You learn because you fixed your problem, but also if you're not failing, it probably means you're doing something you already know how to do, or you got lucky, which is the worst.
Exactly. And making failure the goal really helps just mentally also, because if you go into a new situation where you're likely to fail and say, "Okay, I'm gonna do this until I fail," then you don't feel bad about it when you get there because that was the whole point.
Yeah, that is a that's the other thing is again going back to luck. We've all been caught by that tutorial that clicks just right. Like first time I did something in Python, I went through this web page that explained how to do it. I did it the first time and it worked. Great. Now I know how to do it. Turns out you don't. Turns out you're now dangerous.
Exactly.
Knowing your yeah, how do you know your limits? I guess just by failing repeatedly.
Yep, pretty much. And the only way to learn what your limits are is to exceed them and realize, okay, that was too much. So sometimes that's good and sometimes it's not, but there's only one way to find out.
Yeah, it's probably just setting something on fire.
Yeah, as long as you know where the
But
fire extinguishers are, that's okay.
yeah, that's a good thing. And do you think that applies to public speaking and conference talks too? Because I know a lot of people were very knowledgeable, but will never speak at a conference. Well, you do, I do a lot of speaking too. So feels like that's a variation.
It can be. That's I firmly believe that anyone can learn to do anything. So if you're interested in doing conference talks, if that's something you want to try, absolutely go for it because the stakes are a lot lower than they seem like from the outside. Like once you've done it once, you realize, oh, okay, like half of these people aren't even paying attention. There's this one guy in the back that's like having a nap. It's fine. Even if you completely bomb, there's like 20 people that are going to know about it. It's all right. But
That's
also, I don't think it's for everyone. I have a friend who is one of those people who is very knowledgeable, gave it a go, hated it. Like she was good. I thought she was great, but she just did not enjoy it at all. So if you don't like it, don't do it. There's no pressure. But
feels
again,
like you.
just like knowing your limits, there's no way to know unless you give it a shot.
You know, it sort of feels like the getting into a job without fully knowing and getting into a talk without fully knowing sort of overlap. And the fact that, again, as you said, not many people are going to know you're actually not, you're actually just winging it. It is a,
Yeah.
I've been in many situations. I've spoken, I don't know, I've spoken at over 150 conferences, if I count it right. And there, half of them I could have said whatever. Like, it could have, nobody will bother me. It's depends on where the setting, depends on what you're presenting, of course. But there's a lot of leeway, and again, I think I like it, and I always like to ask some questions about when I know the guest is a speaker, is a serial speaker. I like to. Speaking of which, are you speaking at any conferences anytime soon?
Yeah, my next one coming up is Thunder Plains in Oklahoma City in mid-October.
Oh, nice. I have a couple of friends from Oklahoma, so I'll spread the word.
Yeah. That's not gonna be competence is overrated. That's going to be TypeScript for people who hate TypeScript.
Oh, then maybe I should join at least remotely because I have had the experience of trying TypeScript and not liking it. So it's literally you're speaking to my heart.
Yeah, I gave that talk at the Kansas City Developer Conference this year already, and it was very divisive. About half the people that showed up were people who either had tried it and hated it and couldn't get past just the initial steps of learning it, or people who really, really like TypeScript and just wanted to come and not like me, I think. But that's fine. That's how you
Yeah,
want to spend your time.
I have tried. So my background, I am a very much a back end engineer, bleeding into DevOps and platform architecture. So my front end experience is clicking buttons and hope something happens. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So I should probably, I think TypeScript for me may actually be overkill, but I'm not sure. I've never. I should probably revisit. It's I certainly like it better than CoffeeScript, if you remember that.
Never got into CoffeeScript, but yeah, I'm not a TypeScript fan, obviously. TypeScript for people who hate TypeScript, not my jam, but I have coworkers that like it, so it's fine. I think it overcomplicates things more than it helps.
Well, let's say I get into a job where I'm required to write some TypeScript, which I don't know much about and I'm not even good at it. Let's make it a practical case. What's the first thing you will look for? A mentor, maybe?
Yeah, that's a great place to start. Like I said, I have a coworker who really likes TypeScript, so if it comes up at work, he's my go-to guy of I am getting a completely baffling error. I don't know what is going on. I've
Hmm.
tried everything I can think of to fix it. It's still complaining at me. What is going on? And then he can help me try and drill down to what might actually be the problem. Sometimes it's, oh, well, TypeScript just quit working, so restart your IDE, which, I never have that problem with vanilla JavaScript. Just saying.
Yeah, the fact that TypeScript doesn't really run is the one problem I have with it. Like having it, the transpiling process is something that I can really work with when it's C, when it's trying to, it's putting together the headers and whatnot. But I don't see why I should not be able to directly trace down an error into JavaScript. Then again, my the most JavaScript I've done recently is a yep, you probably heard about HTMX, which is a library that allows you to just morph pieces of the page by exchanging HTML fragments directly with the server. That's the most I've done. So all my interactions consist of generating the HTML on the server side and it's putting that back into the page. So it is that's really easy. Probably not something you'd use TypeScript for. Probably boils down to again finding the right tool before anything.
Yeah, for sure.
So we both started with PHP, so we all know our share of tools that are not really good for anything. I'm kidding. Modern PHP is actually very good. Don't
Yeah,
just went
you're
through.
gonna get hate in your comments for that, I think.
Well, we did go through the dark ages, like PHP between 4 and 5 point something. It was truly horrible. Let's be honest. Like,
Yeah.
when they canceled PHP 6, I knew something was wrong.
We don't talk about PHP 6.
The books were in the libraries. I have a photo somewhere that I took back in the day. At the time, I was still traveling between where I live in Milan, and there was this huge library that had technical books all around it. Like it was like a box in the station, and there's an exposition of books was all around, and there was a wall of PHP 6 books that was there for like 3 days.
Wow.
I have a
Collector's
photo of
item.
that somewhere. Yeah, that wasn't great. They hadn't been printed at all, so it was just insane. So I think it's the only time something like that happened, frankly, that the language was actually released and taken back. It was weird. I actually like TypeScript more than PHP would say something.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, then, I think there's a lot to unpack here, so we will do a quick recap. The idea is that when you get started into a job, you don't really need to know everything. Find a mentor, fail, find a time boxing system, which is yours is 30 minutes followed by a 15-minute break, and then if you come back, you go seek help. And I feel like that's a good time. It's better than mine. I will fail for a couple hours. That's always too much. I'll be super honest. That's always too much. It's 2 hours is really too long. But it's also that sometimes when you're working platform stuff, it really takes you an hour before you get to the point of failing again. If you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Like I had to recompile the whole thing, rebuild the Docker containers, bring up the entire system, or start running the end-to-end tests, and then I know if did it wrong.
Yeah.
So maybe it's the cycles that are a bit longer. Although 2 hours might be too much.
Yeah,
And
the
well,
30 minutes for me doesn't start until I'm stuck. So if I'm stuck and I
mm,
can't find the next thing to do, if I've got the next thing, I'm still fine. That's still we're going. That 30 minutes
mm,
starts when I hit a wall.
yeah, I think that that's much more reasonable and instructive. Yeah, of course. Again, depending what job you're doing, it might take you an hour to get to the failure portion. Again, it's just
Yeah.
that. Which, by the way, is what I hate with working with large and complex systems that you have to rebuild entirely. So we built our system so we don't have to do that. Only happens on occasion. But that hour, maybe not an hour, maybe the half an hour of rebuilding and compiling it completely kills my workflow. So the one advice I can give additional to that is try to get your builds to work fast at any
Yeah.
cost. Like fast builds are the number one thing you want. Like just fail. That also helps you to fail fast, frankly. Like you fail quicker. It's cool how it's almost just a mini startup every time you do a project this way.
Yeah. It it's a very different way of working than my previous job, which was a national realty company, which is just,
Cool.
lots of maps, lots of tools, everything's integrated with everything else and everything's existed for 10 years and there's a lot of legacy. Where DI projects are, okay, here's a new one, and then 3 months later, okay, here's a new one, and you're just starting from scratch over and over and over again and building smaller things that are, yeah, a little bit more interesting than maps usually.
We worked with a lot of large carriers, and some of them, I mean, most of them have been around for 50, 60 years in some form. And I see a lot of that too, like in the huge corporate situations. They just have no flexibility at all, like literally zero. Like, that's how we do it, and that's the only way we're ever going to do it. So I appreciate being able to work differently for sure. Well, Amy, I mean, that was a great chat. I hope people liked it, and I'm sure they do. And go check out Amy's talks on internet and the Dimensional Innovations website. It's just super interesting. And you also have a new project called Atlas 9, which is
Yeah.
just atlas9.com. So can you just tell us something quick about it? I checked out the website and it's incredible. So I'm really curious about what how it was built and what's the narrative behind it.
Yeah, Atlas 9, we are building a new location-based experience or an immersive art experience, whichever term you may have heard of, in Kansas City that is sort of along the lines of Meow Wolf, if you've heard of that. So it's a building, and you go into the building, and there will be art and immersive experiences and just a lot of weird stuff. It's sort of like a theme park, it's sort of like an art museum, kind of hard to pin down. If you're intrigued, you should come. We open in July next year.
Well, who knows? We might be around. We might be around next year that area. So who knows? I always end up going to the Midwest and Central area during the summer because we have many customers there. So I I'll try and get there. Otherwise, I'll just check it out. But please go check out the website. It's great. Like, just look at the website. It's incredible. It is.
Yeah, and I
It's
I did not do that website. No, not taking credit from my coworkers for that. That was my coworker Bob. He did an amazing job on it. It's a very cool website. Definitely check it out.
Yeah, and mostly because the amount of animation and interaction it has, it's really light and quick still, which is not something you can say. Many of these projects turn into a sprawling 100 megabytes of JavaScript. It's not the case. It's really nice. Well, go check out Atlas 9 and other projects from Dimensional Innovations. Go check out Amy Talks, and thank you, Amy, for joining us today. It was great,
Thank you.
and looking forward to seeing you at your next talk because I'm really interested. Thank you very
All
much
right.
again. For the rest of the people, I'll see you next week. Bye.